Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Finger Guns and Record Breakers.
Bang.
I'm Petey RAVE, your man with no plan. Here with me, of course, is my crew here to talk about music as we do every time we gather on Record Breakers. We have Brett.
Breakfast of Champions.
We've got Drew.
Feel like I should be cutting a promo as Cactus Jack.
Yeah. And we've got Patrick.
Bang, bang.
I shut you down. We're here to talk about music. Share music with each other as we do periodically. As we take turns and round the table, and share and care and doing show and tell. The provider of the music this week is me. I'm providing a very cool, interesting album by a very cool, interesting set of, I guess you would call them road warriors or journeymen, by the name of Spam AllStars. They hail from Miami, Florida. At least that's where they set up shop here. They play tons of shows on a constant basis all over Miami, at various locales, bars, and music joints. And they're very, very cool, interesting, eclectic band. Very cool musicians. But yeah, let's get down to it. I'll start with Patrick. Patrick, what were your expectations coming into this album?
I had no idea, other than sort of you mentioned they were from Miami, and that was about it. I had I coming in blind here.
Mm-hmm. I imagine that's going to be the case for the most part. Brett, what were your expectations?
I think you had talked to me about these guys before, but I didn't have the name to put with them. I remember you bringing up the novelty of the act. But other than that, I didn't know that until I was into it. Yeah. So I had no clue.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what were your expectations?
Well, you said they were from Miami, and all I know of Miami music is a bald reggaeton artist that says Dale a lot, so I was going to assume that wasn't going to be what I was getting, so I had really no clue. I was going to be lost.
You had me mixed up because I was like, bald reggaeton artist. I didn't know he knew Daddy Yankee, and then he said Dale. I was like...
Sorry. Yes, there are a couple, but I was going with the other one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He's the rapper from Westchester, who has street cred, even though he's from one of the most middle class neighborhoods in Miami.
He's killing a lot of dudes on that new video game, the Giant Bomb Game of the Year. But
nice. All right, let's talk about this album musically. I think this album is a very eclectic album. It's a very cool album. It has a lot of has a nice variety of sounds. Has some influences in like old school hip hop, funk. Just a little bit of funk and R&B. A little bit of kind of like a bunch of different sounds: funk, R&B, old school hip hop. Latin music, very it has Afro-Cuban influences, especially with like the inclusion of the tambales. There's a man credited in the membership as playing both guitars and the Cuban tres. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Cuban tres. This is the first time I've ever heard of it, but it's like a guitar except the 6 strings are paired off into 3 pairs, and it is a very interesting instrument. So it's like it has so many like different influences just in what each person brings to the table, and like the horn section and the timbales, but in like they have DJ Lil Spam doing like on his turntables and his production area doing his thing. So it's a very cool mix of sounds, and it's very interesting, kind of vibey. Has this really nice mood to it, and it lets you kind of vibe out to it. You guys are going to be better at describing this musically, so I'll go to you guys. Patrick, how would you describe this musically? What would be the themes elements that caught your attention?
This is the band that doesn't want to be given a genre title and have it only be at one. This is all over the place, but in like a great way. So some songs you are very, very much the sort of Afro-Cuban sort of Latin sound that you alluded to. Some songs are very much like funk and R&B. There's a lot of really interesting choices in terms of instrumentation. So like you say Afro-Cuban and you can like list the instruments that are on that, but also like there's like crazy bass synths and, you know, electronic stuff that gets used. So it's a little all over the map in terms of stuff, but I think like at its core, it's very much Afro-Cuban and Latin with a healthy helping of sort of funk, R&B, and hip hop thrown in there too, and electronica for some reason. It's really, really hard to actually describe it. There's no one or two or three genres that describe it. It's about 20 of them, but
Yeah.
but it's I think at its core it is very much take a lot of ideas out of Latin and Afro-Cuban music and layer other styles and instruments and ideas on top of it.
Mm-hmm. Brett, how would you describe this album musically? What would be the themes elements that caught your attention?
You guys know how much I enjoy the great wall of sound bands that we bring every now and then, and man, there's probably about as many threads on this album as any other album that I can think of. This is one of those albums you can listen to over and over, and still pull out new little bits every time. The density of music on a wide range of sounds. It's very noteworthy. The songs are longer than most, so they hang around. You don't get that many of them though. That's how it goes. But you get some places. You get instruments playing together that you wouldn't expect, and done in a way that you'd be pretty hard pressed to put a name on. This is a pretty magical album that has like a couple of super strong tracks on it, but those are tracks that are geared towards me. This album goes so many places that this thing's going to hit with different people in very different ways. There's just like, from like a bleeps and bloops, a drum machine, and a violin going on at the same time. It's a kind of a crazy album.
Yeah. Crazy sums it up. Yeah. Drew, what would be the themes on that caught your attention? How would you describe this album musically?
This album is just oozes style in a way that like is kind of insane. Because of, if we can touch on what Patrick said before, you can't really pigeonhole this band into one genre. If somebody came up to you and said, I want this type of band from like this genre, I want something good and new in this genre, this band would never come out, because like you can't say. Let's take a look at their Wikipedia page for a second. The genres I see here, because I brought this up in the pre-show while we were just shooting the shit, so I'm going to bring it up again. The genres I'm seeing on this page: hip-hop, Latin, funk, electronica, Afro-Cuban, Electro, and dub. It's like you took a handful of genres and threw them at a wall, and some shit stuck. But you know what? Like, the whole thing works. Like, there is a funky groove to this album that just, you can't help but fall for something. The musicianship is insane in this record. There is some bendy wah goodness in that electric guitar that is just fun in places. There is some great like horn parts in others. There is an underlying synth to a lot of this record that is just sort of, it doesn't always punch through, but it's there a lot of the time, just providing this like cool little floor that's really nice. Like there's a weird key, like I don't know what it is, it's just that underlying, like whatever sample or whatever they're doing with that sort of key sound in it is just great. It's just from top to bottom. Brett said there's something magic about a lot of this record, and it goes places. Like, I'll touch on the first two tracks when we go into the next block because they're both weird offshoots. But that's what makes it great, I think, is that you can sit down to this album at different times and pick out different tracks that are gonna hit you. There's something that every once in a while something gets onto this where I'm like, whoa, this came out of left field but is really great. The first time it was the Bad Rabbits, and I don't know, maybe in a year we'll be talking about their darker socially conscious record. I don't know. But right now, this dancey, fun, like, street fair music is something that I'm super digging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have such a great, like, breadth of sound and, like, touch on so many things, and you get in some of the cool songs, some of the songs. We're going to talk about the first two tracks. I'll bring them up. The first track, the title track, does a great job of kind of building up and kind of giving you the idea of who they are. Gets you in kind of a cool mood, and it's a really great opening track and has a lot of fun stuff going on throughout. And it transitions to the second track. One of the two tracks that I think the only two tracks that have vocals on them on this album, Coquilla. And it is a very fun Afro-Cuban style, like very Cuban Spanish, like even with words that I don't even understand because they're very Cuban dialect Spanish that I don't speak on a daily basis. But it's very familiar just because it's, I'm here, I live it. And it's so cool, and it's such a cool style, and it has such a cool feel to it. Like it's definitely like the successor in so many ways with so many cool additions, but it still takes you back to like when we talked about Celia Cruz, that classic Afro-Cuban style, it takes those influences and adds so many cool new things that still make it nice and fresh. And then the other one, the other vocal song, Satellite, had its own really cool funky sound to it, and really cool like singing style, and was danceable and catchy and hooky, but it still had really cool musicianship, and it was really interesting to kind of go and listen to. Patrick, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Cosquilla or Coquilla. This one, like, the intro is super, like, Afro-Cuban Latin, and then you get this, like, unexpected out-of-nowhere bass synth, and it really kind of describes what makes this group so interesting and so much fun, is, like, you get what sounds to be briefly traditional, but then, like, okay, we're going to throw something in here that you didn't expect, that quote-unquote doesn't belong here, but it works really well. Has really, really great Latin percussion. I don't understand Latin percussion. I don't know what you do with timbales. I like them. I can hit them, but like they're used as an accent piece rather than like a normal drum kit where it's holding it down. And someday in my life, I just want someone to like explain Latin percussion to me in a way that I can understand what you're supposed to do, because I think it's really cool, and it's one of those things that I wish I understood.
I will give you a hint. You're not supposed to do anything. You just do. It really is. A lot of Latin percussion is it's not something you're supposed to do. You just do, man. You just do.
I get that vibe. It's very like accenty in a way that like is very unlike normal like playing a drum set in a band. And the vocals are really cool. Like you get these really nice harmonized male vocals contrasted with a female vocalist. And it's really fun. I don't know what any of the words mean. I don't care. It's great. Satellite, that Petey mentioned, this one gets real funky. It has these really, really great soulful vocals, a good synth, and a fuzzed out guitar solo. And I like a fuzzed out guitar solo. And then the last song, Agua de Pozo, which I'm saying probably very wrong, but I only speak English. I am not educated enough to know any other languages. And this one, it has like spectacular percussion for the intro. I don't know what's going on, but I like it. It's really cool. You get horns, which I think many of us enjoy, as we've probably said a million before. And then you get, but then like you think, okay, it's this one thing, and then you get a drum machine and the dirtiest synth, like just in there too. And it's really, I think this song was the one where they're like, yeah, we're gonna just try some shit on this and have some fun. Like this one's probably the farthest off the beaten track and just getting a little experimental, but because of that, it's really fun. And it kind of encompasses why this record's so much fun, is because it isn't one thing. It's whatever thing it wants to be at that very second, and it could be a whole nother thing in a minute or two.
Mm-hmm. Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
There were a couple that really stood out for me. One of them was A Ruby Carrot. It starts out with, just a simple guitar lick, then a fuzzed out bass comes in, then you get a violin, and then like this slow swell crescendo of every like 30 different people stepping in and adding their instrument. And every time I heard this song, I kept pulling more and more neat things they were doing. It's one of those songs that I could throw on and do something and sort of just let it do its thing, and not get in the way. But every time I wanted to impose myself upon the song, I could dig something out of again. I played a lot of this. It's not overpowering, but there's some neat things that they were doing in there, and they all, in a weird way, they mixed together the instrumentation. But the best example of the weird instrumentation being thrown all together, I thought, was Around the Track. I hope I got the pronunciation right there, Petey. I don't.
I think so. I think it was
okay,
right. Yeah.
All right. So it's got beeps, it's got boops, it's got drums and bass, it's got horns, it's got a guy playing woodblock. It's got funk. It's fantastic. It's like, the whole song has the foundation of the bass and the drums. The bass going some places, hanging to the groove for 6 minutes while all of the voices come in from like the guitar or the like. There's all kinds of stuff going on here, and there's that dude in the back playing that wood block, doing the Lord's work, knocking a piece of wood against another piece of wood. It's not quite like. It's not quite like claves, but it's a guy's got a wood. There's also hand percussion at the same time as a drum machine. It's not something I was really expecting, but it was fantastic.
The staple of every Catholic church, the Lord's work.
Yeah.
Sorry.
One piece of wood against the other piece of wood.
And it goes.
That's what struck me. It's like all my years in the Catholic Church, the Lord's work being the wood block. That's something I missed. I missed that Easter Sunday.
I remember my years in Catholic Church. The Lord's work being one piece of wood against another piece of wood, but that's a whole other story. Drew.
I wasn't good looking enough when I was an old boy.
What would be some of the key tracks for you?
Hey-o! Self-deprecating humor. So, like I said, the first two tracks I have to hit on because of how good they were. Like, I usually try to do one at the beginning and one in the middle and one at the end. But Trans-Oceanic was probably my favorite song. It was just, like I said, just the style in this band, it just is oozing from every pore. And the opening track, the title track, hit that. And if you can hit a title track and an opening track at the same time, we know my rules. You got to do it well, and it got it. There is some jazz influence on this that just got me grooving right from the get-go. Coquilla, as Petey said, thank you for pronouncing that, so I would not sound so white. When I said, street fair, this, I can imagine, walking down a street with, food trucks and, music coming from different sides of the sidewalk, and this would be coming from somewhere. If I was walking around Miami with a good friend Petey here, and I heard this coming from a bar or something, I'd be like, yo, I don't know where we're stopping. We're stopping and going that way, because, this sounds cool, and I gotta be a part of this. And then, weirdly enough, Brett touched on the other one I wanted to touch on, which is Around the Track. There was a lot going on in that song. but there was a guitar effect that came in about halfway through that was like super 80s for some reason to me. Like, and it, like, as someone who, like I told pre-show, have been dabbling in some outruns, some retro wave and some vaporwave, the 80s guitar effect was a welcome, and like just that like sort of fuzz that was there was really, really cool, and the song itself was just great. There's this record, man.
Yes.
Yes. I think we can all agree.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just a fantastic record. And we go back around the horn and talk about some conclusive thoughts. Patrick, what would be your conclusive thoughts on this album?
I didn't know what to expect coming in, but I was very pleasantly surprised. This was really fun, and expand your musical horizons and listen to this. This is a really good example of like getting out of your comfort zone and finding something that you end up really enjoying. Great musicianship. I like the odd instrumentation, and I see why these guys seem to have such a good reputation, despite kind of being a band that lives and dies in one city.
Brett, what would be your conclusive thoughts?
There are like ridiculous amounts of slices of different kinds of music. And I found it very refreshing. It's unlike anything I've heard before, and I probably wouldn't have found it without the show. I really dug it.
Drew, what would be your conclusive thoughts on this album?
I don't know if this band is gonna be for everybody. Because it is musically very jam-packed. It is very all over the place at times. There's a lot of music in this album. But the musicianship is so good, and the songs are so fun that I would have a hard time not recommending people at least give it a shot, because I think you'd be hard-pressed not to find something you like, if not respecting the hell out of this band by the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is just a very cool band. Like, this is just a very cool mix of sounds. It's very unique. It's almost want to say very Miami. Like, it's an actual melting pot. You know what? It's an actual melting pot, unlike Miami, which honestly is more like I think one of the best quotes. Miami is more like a frozen TV dinner where sometimes the peas get in the mashed potatoes. But this is an actual melting pot of sound for many different styles in funk, hip hop, land. Like, it is those genres that are on the Wikipedia page. You look at those genres and you think, wait, how does that mix together? Well, hit play. Like I say in all the episode descriptions, hit play to find out. It is a very cool. This is a very cool album. This is a very dense album. It's a very interesting to listen to album. This is a cool band that I think it's hard to recommend specifically to anybody, but it has so much going on that it might have something for everybody. It's like the guys have said, like, there's such a diverse sound that I think, and such great musicianship that I'm proud to share a hometown with this band, and I hope more people get to check them out. If you want to see them live and you're in Miami, chances are you're going to be able to, because they're playing somewhere. They literally are road warriors. They're constantly playing live shows. Like, you can go to their website, which is comical. If you go to the website,
their website, I think, is literally as old as the band and hasn't been updated since the late 90s.
Hasn't been updated in style, but it luckily is constantly updated with all their shows, and they have tons of shows.
I would like to submit its design as second oldest looking design on the internet that still exists as a web page besides like this Space Jam website, which I'm pretty sure is still up.
Yep.
But yeah, but it still has all the info you need on there, including their shows. Like they're playing all over the place, and you can see them live. And I haven't seen them live personally, but I plan to at some point because I can only imagine it'd be a fun experience live and a good party time. A good time to
party,
party time,
and that time you could party.
Excellent,
yeah, and dance around and groove and like do salsa
groove
dancing.
on it
and do salsa dancing.
The audio listeners are missing out a key component of this.
Yeah,
and it's still going. Yeah, here he is. There it is.
All right, but yeah, let's. Those are our thoughts on Spam AllStars. Now we get to the main event of the evening. We get to our haiku reviews. Get to sum it all up in poetic form. I'll go same order. Patrick, what is your haiku?
A delightful blend of the best Miami sounds. A very good time.
Mm-hmm. Brett, what is your haiku?
A mix of the. Sorry, I added a syllable. There's no sorry, folks. Let's do that over like Adele. Mix of this and that. Stirred up and served my ears. It was cool, you guys.
Yeah. Drew, what is your haiku?
Petey bringing out groovy Miami funk tunes, but not worldwide. Dolly. God damn it. I love Pitbull for the jokes. Sorry.
God damn it.
I have to.
You know what? Yeah, I will say I don't mind the dollars because you know what? Pitbull doesn't own Dolly.
Fair enough.
I like it the way.
Probably.
My haiku. Wildly diverse sound from Miami Journeyman. Perfect party tunes.
Now do it in Korean.
Wow. Putting this man on the goddamn spot.
Oh, he used to do that when he'd bring Korean albums. I was like...
So wait, why would he be doing it in Korean for this one? When he'd be doing it in like Cuban or some shit?
He's adding even more culture to the multicultural.
Yes. Yeah, that was our review. Those are our thoughts on Spam AllStars Trans-Oceanic. You can of course find it on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers, the home game. Play along at home, follow along, do your homework. On that Spotify playlist will be next week's record, which is provided to you by I believe Patrick. Patrick, what do you got for us next week?
I'm giving you the soundtrack to my freshman year of college, Shadows Fall, The War Within.
Mm-hmm. So look forward to that discussion. But then is then, and now is now. I don't know. Like, I forgot. I don't know. You can, of course, find us all over the internet. Patrick is at the Swagger. Brett is at HIBBARD, HIBBI2IBIBBARD. Drew is at X2SuperX. I'm at PD Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. Rebelli.net for this and other shows. Rebelli TV on iTunes. Not on iTunes. On YouTube. On Twitch. We're on iTunes. We're on Stitcher. We're on all over the place.
Worldwide.
Until next time. Yep. Until next time.
Sorry.
Hasta los huevos. Dale que te puede. Que carne más carne, así viene el sándwich.